right,
Got it?
here we are. Wellness Wednesday, Women's Wellness Wednesday.
Okay.
Namaste, Amy.
Nice to see you.
Great to see you too. Look,
Looking very,
you like my shade of the day.
it's very Greece. It's very the 80s.
Oh
Um,
yeah, my hair too. I know. Yeah, I'm in the mood for something a bit more
I,
funky.
I,
That
I am
girls just want to
expecting
have
to see
fun.
you dancing and everything.
And
Comment if you think
I love your background too.
the
Yes.
mandala, yeah. So we're constantly leveling up, and now we have this like humongous ring light.
Oh, love it. You know, the brightness just,
Yeah.
perfect, and to enhance your glow.
And
Okay.
and comment if you think that Jean should always wear her hair like in Greece, sporty spice. Next week,
Sporty spice, did you say? Is it
yeah.
baby spice? Okay, you're baby spice. You're blonde. So, I,
I
I don't think they had an Asian girl in the band back then.
I think wow, I think I have some issues there because when you called me baby spice, I felt like a trigger. No.
Oh, okay. Well, not really the word baby, but I'm just saying image wise, right? Because
But
she's the
like
blonde
no,
one,
it was
right?
literally like there was a moment. This is perfect. There was a moment where I was like, I want to be sporty spice. What the hell? Hey,
Oh yeah, right, right. I mean, you're totally sporty spice. You're
thank
totally
you,
sporty
thank you very much.
spice. Yes. All right. Yeah.
This
Because
is
Sporty
perfect.
Spice didn't like she's brunette, right? So like,
Exactly.
Baby Spice was the only one with the blonde hair. So of course, sorry. Yes. Uh, I don't know which spice I'm supposed to be, but I always say that, Sex and the City, right? The
Oh
TV
yeah.
show. I was always like, I'm totally Miranda. Oh, no, not Miranda, not Miranda. I'm totally Samantha.
Are
Yes.
you? Oh,
Oh yeah,
goodness.
yeah, always. I'm like, no doubt, I'm totally Samantha.
There's people, right? There's people who will like openly admit that they're Samantha, and in a way, I have like a lot of respect for them because, and also for Samantha because she's just her. And I do love these people in the world. Now you are Samantha because I love that about you. You're 100% authentic.
Great.
You're just yourself, and you kind of got to that point where you just accepted yourself completely, and take it or leave it. This is me, the song. I've been listening to that song all week. In because I finally found all my CDs from the move and had the Greatest Showman on, right? This is me,
Oh,
that song.
great.
Yeah, people just
Oh, nice.
just be like,
Oh, that's one of my favorite songs,
it gives
actually.
me the
Yeah.
chills. It's an amazing song. It really truly is amazing. So just embracing who we are and not giving a damn whether or not we look, you know,
We please people's
exactly.
social standard, like
Yeah.
beauty standard or not. Yeah, so beautiful. So speaking of social standard, that brings us to our topic for today. And what are we talking about today?
We're talking about social comparison. It all lined up perfectly there.
Oh, social comparison. And those of you who are watching right now, welcome to this important topic of the week. And also, not too long ago, a moment ago, I just posted a quote, something that I actually got from one of my other mentors, and I really resonated with that. So those of you who haven't seen it, really go and check it out. Like while we're here, can I quickly read it out?
Yeah, I would love to hear
For
it.
everybody. Okay, great. So give me 1 second. Let me switch to the window. Okay, so basically, when I saw this, like not too long ago, I was like, I completely resonate with it, and I'm still also healing myself, from that. I can't say that I'm 100% like, got nothing to do with it because I believe all of us have been there. So. Social comparison theory states that individuals determine their own social and personal worth based on how they stack up against others. They perceive as somehow faring better or worse. Today, we live with constant exposure to social media, always checking in on others' lives, looking at the highlights of someone else's life can evoke the feeling of being left behind or give us a false sense of being inadequate. This feeling of not doing enough, not being enough, can slowly become a persistent inner dialogue.
Wow.
As a result, we start believing that we are not good enough, that we don't deserve the success or the financial benefit. So, yeah, so that's what I posted today,
Amazing.
along with a weird photo. I don't know why somehow I got a comment saying that my hair is longer, but I hope everybody was reading the content.
I'm listening to the content at the same time. I'm like watching Jean's hair, like Exactly.
I'll try not to let it become a distraction.
I was totally listening to that, and it's it's the opposite side of the sword, the social media sword. The way that social media can, in one sense, build us up, boost our confidence, spread positivity, and then opens the gate at the same time for this comparison and this measuring up. Which now, as I was listening to you, and we're talking, it was, the quote was saying that it causes us to believe that we're inadequate. Now, I would like to adapt that statement and say that it triggers our inner, already there feelings of inadequacy, I think. And that's it there, because on some level, probably the most fundamental problem that we all have to deal with is that I'm not enough.
Right.
That statement is the key, let's say, pain that all of the other crap that we have to deal with kind of stems from. I'm not enough as I am, right? And then we open social media, and there's a lot of evidence to suggest, looking at everyone's lives, because as you put in that post, or the author of that post wrote, it's the highlights of people's lives. Okay, I mean,
best part.
Raise your hands, and I will do this. Do we really post the dark side of our lives on social media? To a certain extent, yes. But like, I would say for the most part, we're posting the highlights. Even when we post the things, the dark side of our lives, we're still posting it in a way that portrays us as being good. You know, I'm so brave that I can go on social media with no makeup, or I'm so brave that I can express my feelings, or being authentic. So no matter how we do it, we're still portraying this image of ourselves that we want other people to see and approve of. So pass over to Jean.
Definitely. Yeah, this is actually something that I can 100% relate to. And like, just like what you said, Amy, right? We already have that sort of like not good enoughness inside each one of us, which is basically generated by years and years of social conditioning and the circumstances and the, upbringing and the environment that we're in. And, if we are conscious of, obviously in this circle, we're all conscious souls. When we're consciously managing our energy and managing our life, we can, bring awareness to that and, heal ourselves from it and, remove that not enoughness out of us, right? But in the whole process of healing and removing the not enoughness, we obviously are always surrounded by social media, right?
Exactly.
And like you said, when we go onto social media, we see the highlights of everyone else's life. And of course, apart from the highlights, the happy things, the celebration of the success and everything, or a celebration of how good my life is, I'm on the private jet, a lot of the made up content, I have to say, right? Because there has been such a huge culture, like a online social culture of the need to like generate, the need to fabricate a certain lifestyle to get the vanity, to get they call it the vanity measurement, the vanity metrics, to get the likes, to get people's like, admiration by, like putting your materialistic sort of like flaunting your materialistic sort of possession in front of people, or the lack of, right? I mean, the fake material possession in front of people in order to feel like, like in order to feel like you're popular, or, your life is fulfilled with, likes and, people's like, how should I say it? People's love for you. But, that is a very, how should I say, concerning. It's a very concerning phenomenon, right?
Yeah. I think it's concerning, but at the same time, like we always like to do on the show, it is take the shame out of it, right? Because we all do it. And even I hate to like break this truth, but even the posts that you're putting there for positivity, right? For example, a gratitude post. I had this conversation the other day. Like my friend was saying, she's sick of seeing people posting about gratitude. Like, why is it bothering her so much? Why is she triggered every time she sees this post saying, "I'm so grateful"?
Right.
Well, I suppose it's because it's because really when we do that, we're sort of proud of the fact that we're grateful people and we're positive people. So let's put it out there, and then other people feel a sense of shame, like, hang on, she's super grateful for everything. Am I grateful enough? Am I doing enough? Am I saying enough gratitude? I'm not good enough. I'm not grateful enough. So I'm not good enough right now as I am. I need to do more. I need to be more. And then, you know, comparing ourselves to people in a positive light. So whatever, like, take the shame out of it. Whatever post we're putting there, whether it's spreading positivity or whatever, is that we have a sense of like, I want to put this out there and prove something about myself. So we're all doing it. And on the flip side, we're also all comparing, like, literally, because one of the things that I'm doing at the moment is, you know, setting up my business and you know, planning my YouTube and things like that. And I've had to go onto social media these days with like blinkers on. Otherwise, I just get completely demoralized, because everyone's already doing loads of stuff on social media, and it's like,
I know what you're feeling. I know completely how you're feeling right now.
And it's like it reminds me of when I was, you know, competing as an athlete, and sometimes it would be just you watching other people come through and do all this stuff and be amazing, and you think, and sometimes there's that tendency
to swing faster now.
Exactly, it can go either way. It can go like, right, I'm gonna do it more, depending on what my vibration is. I'm gonna do it, and it doesn't matter what anyone else is doing. I'm gonna do it my way and do it like 100% with my all my, let's say, strength and ability. Or I go the other way and say like, well, why should I even bother? Because they're just gonna beat me anyway.
Right.
Yeah, it's definitely triggering that, because athletes, I think, are like the ultimate, you know, in the comparison sense, because you're literally competing. But the interesting thing about this for me is that I find, and I have found over the years, that the best that I would ever race was when I literally just completely blinkered like a horse, and I didn't even, let's say, for like, if I have eight laps to swim in my race, which was 200 breaststroke, probably the first 6 laps I wouldn't even look either way, and I would just completely focus on my own swim, each stroke being right, how I feel, like keep breathing, and just make it as perfect for me as I could. And then the last 2 lengths I'd be like, right, okay, have I got to, you really go for it or something like that.
Just have a little check where you are, right?
And that would be the best I'd ever swim, because I was relaxed. The second I look either way, I'm not centered in myself. So every stroke I took wasn't me, really. It was all about everyone else, and all about the pressure, and all about the expectations. So it's just as what we were talking about here, is being authentic to ourselves. And we can only do that when we don't look at anyone else, right? Because they only they can live their life the way that they, you know, the best way for them, and only you can live your life the best way for you. The second you start trying to compare and copying what you see and what you portray through all your mental filters, it just falls apart. You can never live whoever you're comparing yourself, you can never live their life. You can't. So live your life the best that you can.
Right. I love that. Thank you so much, Amy, for pointing this out and using the swimming analogy. It's beautiful, it's perfect, and I can totally relate. And also, like, it's not just like in your competition, right? It's also like in all circumstances in life, you know, stay in your lane and put blinkers on and just focus on what you're good at and what you're doing. Don't get distracted by what other people are doing. Okay, now, those of you who are listening right now, okay, let us know in the comments, you know, if you're also going through that, the same situation where you turn on your social media, you see everyone else's life and you get affected. You feel like you're not doing enough. And if you're in a situation like setting up your business, and you probably look at other people and go, oh my God, this person's like ahead of me, or that person's already doing so much, you know, like, how am I gonna like ever measure up or something like that? If you ever have this kind of feeling, I will suggest you to switch off your phone. Just like what Amy said, you know, don't look at anything. Switch off your phone and just focus on what you have to do. And while Amy, you're talking, I got reminded of a few things that a few of my mentors actually told me along the way. I remember like one time Rebecca G actually told me that if we do have to look at what other people are doing, and it's how we interpret the message actually has a lot to do with ourselves inside, right? Whether if we interpret something as either inspiring or something as intimidating, it's all up to us inside, right? We can have the same type of like post, the photo. Some people look at it and see it as something super inspiring. They get pumped, they get motivated. another group of people could look at it and go, oh my God, that's intimidating. I don't want to look at it.
Yeah.
So it's completely to do with how you look at the whole thing from the inside. Now, I remember she told me this, if we look at like other people, the ones who are established or more successful, the reaction we should have is, okay, what can I learn from this? Rather than feeling like, oh, shoot, I'm behind, right? Oh no, I'm never going to be as good as this person and that. So that really stuck with me for a very long time. Okay. Every time when I swipe my phone, if I see, successful examples, then I'll pause and think, okay, what can I learn from this? Rather than having that allowing that sort of like, what is it? Allowing that not enoughness to come
Yeah.
up and to start to compare, because it is so easy, right? It's so easy to like accidentally fall into that comparison zone. And then what if we don't catch ourselves, then the comparison zone can like basically transform into either jealousy or self-doubt or fear or a lot of other things,
Yes.
right? It could really spiral from there. So this is purely from my own personal experience, and I don't mind being 100% transparent here. Like along this whole journey, like while a lot of people are like, saying, oh my God, you girls have done so much and this and that, you have no idea the kind of crap that I personally have to go through inside too, right? Like I'm just like everyone else, I have the same, I went through the same thing of comparing myself to everyone else, and also feeling, of course, there were a lot of moments where I felt like not enough when I saw that a lot of people are far more successful and a lot more established and gotten certain results and things like that. But it's those moments like that when we catch ourselves, then we become more aware and know that, what, this is not healthy, right? Because where the attention goes, the energy expands,
Exactly.
and then it keeps expanding and amplifying, right? And I remember like also, was it recently or maybe a while ago, a few months ago, I caught myself doing that too much. Then I realized a lot of my energy went into like just looking at social media and went into like checking out what other people are doing. And the more I did that, the more like I was focusing on other people, just like you said in the swimming competition, right? Then you're not actually fully utilizing your energy on building yourself up. When I caught myself, I'm like, oh my God, look how much time's being wasted here.
Yes.
Right? And that's when I went, okay, no more of this. Yeah.
It reminds me of when you were speaking about that ex partner of yours that you had just been worrying about, and you're putting all your energy into that. And that's a beautiful statement that you just made there, is that when we're going to recognize, we're going to have those moments that we're going to compare ourselves. So I think maybe when you find yourself doing that online, when you see a post, it makes you feel, I don't know, inadequate, not doing enough, I'm not enough. Maybe like we're talking about with the gratitude machine, oh, I'm not grateful enough, I'm not positive enough, something like that. Then just notice it, and then once you've noticed it, rather than going down the self-criticism cycle of I'm just comparing myself, now I'm not enough because I'm comparing myself to others. So break the cycle, and I think just come up with a simple like phrase that you can say to yourself. Like for me, I just always go back to this phrase that we had in swimming, which is swim your own race. And it just
I love it.
Swim your own race. Blinkers on, because exactly is what Jean was saying there. The reason why everything fell apart when I was looking to the left, looking to the right, was because I was no longer, my energy was no longer in my own race. It was in other people's race. Because as we learn here, we're all conscious souls, is that where our attention is essentially where we are, even if not physically. So you're putting yourself in that other person's, if it's a swimming race, their body or in their lives, and it doesn't fit. You can't fit yourself into someone else's life, so it won't work for you. It's
totally
the thing that's the most interesting that I've seen is that if ever you're seeing someone being really successful, social media, things like that, it's because they are completely in their own zone, swimming their own race, being authentic to them. That's why they're appealing to other people, attracting to other people, because they're just centered in themselves, so they're attractive. So if you could just do that with yourself, and swim your own race, put all of your energy into yourself, you would be attractive too. You would have the same success. So when you notice that you're doing that and you're comparing yourself to others, realize that this is not serving you. Okay, turn back into your own lane and swim your own race. It's like essentially come up with your own, maybe swim your own race or stay in the lane or something like that, or blinkers on, some sort of phrase that you can remember to remind yourself that if you're comparing yourself to others, it's not serving you. Like really at all. Maybe a tiny bit initially, like Jane was saying, oh, that's inspiring, or maybe that's a great idea, I can implement it, but that's it. As soon as that is over, then you get straight back in your own lane again and carry on
Right.
swimming. Because the thing is
100%.
with the swimming, the thing that I found too is how could I swim like someone else, right? How could I copy their technique and everything? Because how they're swimming is completely dependent on their physique, their body type, their metabolism, everything to do with themselves. There's so many factors to take into account just in the body when we're doing any kind of sport. So imagine now in their life, how are they living their life? How are they being successful? Well, imagine just how many factors that have gone into making that person who they are and why they're successful. You can't possibly replicate that. So just focus on yourself, put all of your energy into yourself, as Jean was saying.
Right, right. I love that. I totally second what you just said. And please write this down, everyone. Quote, make sure you take down Amy's quote. Swim your own race.
Yes.
Right. Swim your own race, and whatever race you're in, it is your own race at the end of the day. And just like the classic saying of comparing yourself, right? Compare yourself to yourself from yesterday, last year. Don't compare yourself to the others.
Yeah.
And, like with the whole social media thing, I know it's very addictive. I recently watched a docu-series or documentary on Netflix. It's called The Social Dilemma. And I found out that the social media, all the apps are designed in a way that it's purposely hooking you into using it more. Right. So it has a very, intelligent design that it makes us actually literally become dependent and addicted to, opening it and swiping it all the time.
And comparing.
So, and yeah, of course, right. The comparing comes out of it. Every time we swipe, we start to have reactions, right? We start to react to things. So the comparing thing is one of the top reactions that we have. So we have to actually do everything we can to deprogram ourselves out of this addiction to having, to be on social media and having to like browse and compare and all the time. And I found that actually just while you were talking, right, I found that actually I was reminded of another thing that I want to mention is I don't know how many of you, maybe a lot of you know Gary Vaynerchuk, right? Gary V. So he's like the kind of like titled the godfather of digital media or digital marketing. I remember one time he actually said this, that was classic. He said, you know what, I want you to stop watching me. Because, while now that you've learned some of the tips and advice from me, I want you to stop checking me out on social media, stop watching me on YouTube. I want you to take actions. I want you to implement. Because what happens is, like it's the same in our circle here, in a lot of different, circles, is that, people are so addicted to like keep checking out, like, oh, especially when we're following mentors and different, influencers, we're addicted to checking out what they're up to, what they're doing. There's nothing wrong with it, but we obviously need to be mindful of how much time we're spending on like following our mentors and following our influencers, how much we're learning, how much we're productively, let's call it productively stalking our mentors and influencers, right? Versus how much productive time you put into implementing what you've learned from this influencer, from this mentor, right? So I think this is where we also have to draw the balance. And by doing that, we're not always comparing, because I know that I've always been in the situation of like looking up to, say, for example, Master Shri, right? And look at how successful he is. He's so amazing. And sometimes I get, defeated by thinking that, oh my God, am I ever going to be as good of a speaker as him, right? Like, wow, look how much he's accomplished on social media, on YouTube. And am I ever going to be as good as him? I mean, again, that goes back to my own inner self, right? Like how I compare myself to my mentor. That's also another issue. And oh yeah, so while saying that, right, there's also something I do need to mention. I think I may have mentioned this last time when I was talking about confidence, is that when we're comparing ourselves to people who are established and far more successful, right? They've been around for many years. we also have to remember that we are comparing our stage 1 to their stage like 100, for example. They've been through a lot of different challenges and lots of like ups and downs in their business, in their career journey. So now they're at like chapter like 99, whereas we're probably just starting off. We're at chapter 1, chapter 2. So it is actually really unfair for both parties, for us especially, to compare our chapter 2 to someone's chapter 102, right? So how do you compare that? Just like what you said, when you're swimming, like you can't compare two swimmers, but of course in the competition circumstance, it's about the speed, right? But that person's way of swimming is different to the way you swim. And if you throw me into the pool and swimming against you, then that would be unfair. Then I'll be like, oh my God, I wish I had like, Amy's speed. I wish I had her strokes, right? I'm not a trained swimmer. I'm a novice swimmer, right? I know how to do breaststroke, but I can't compare myself to you, right? I mean, I could do it in a way that I'm, inspired by your, athletic performance. But, in terms of, the chapter 1 and the chapter 100, this is an example there. Yeah. So I just want to mention that, yeah, to help everybody here who are, still in that zone of comparing. Yeah.
I think I liked what you said. You mentioned, and this is something like I think we can all take away from this, is that the only person you should be comparing yourself with is you, like yesterday, a week ago, a year ago. Are you improving? Because then you're moving in the right direction. And one of the people that I was thinking of while you were speaking is Emily in our circle.
Oh, right.
Yeah, okay, so this is someone who is crazy inspiring. Okay, so
Yes.
I've taught her yoga, but she inspires me. This is a student of mine who inspires me like crazy. Because if she were to compare what she could do in yoga with other people and allow herself to go into that defeat, she would quit. She wouldn't. So because as she puts it, she's differently abled. So she's got very, very limited ability in her legs, and actually struggles to even walk. But she shows up and she will find a way to get her body to do things with straps and things like that. It is truly inspiring. Okay, so this is an example of someone who's, I mean, I'm sure there are times when she is struggling and comparing, but for the most part, I'm imagining that she just gets on with it and thinks, well, I'm going to find a way for my body to do the things that I want to be able to do to the best of my ability. And then because of that, it's effing inspiring to watch this girl. Like literally, for me, if anyone ever tells me in yoga, oh, that's not really for me, or I can't do that, or I think, well, I always mention Emily. So if this girl can find a way to do this, then
right.
you have no excuses. So the only person that we should be comparing ourselves to is ourselves, because then we know when we're moving in the right direction. And we just cannot put ourselves into other people's bodies, like what you were just saying with the swimming, right? So where's the line? If Jing's going to compare herself to me swimming, right, and say, well, I'm not as good as Amy swimming, right? But there's so many other things that we can do. So then she could go the next day and watch someone running and be like, I'm not a good runner as them, or I'm not a good painter as them. There's unlimited things that people can be good at in the world. So we just cannot compare ourselves to everything, right? So why not just focus on you and the things that you're good at and stay in your own lane?
Definitely. I love that. And by the way, I think today's Emily's birthday, right?
It is Emily's birthday.
Yes. All right. Happy birthday, Emily, if you're watching this.
Yeah.
We just have to tag her name here, right? Yeah, she's a true
right.
inspiration to us. If you think that you can't do a lot of asanas, like look at Emily. She has no complaints. And while you're talking about Emily, I also have a dear friend of mine, Bill from Vancouver. He is blind, but he back then before COVID, when we had a studio, he would show up every week to my class, right? At first I was just like, how would a blind person follow my bootcamp class? But he didn't even think. He just said, I want to come and try it out. He didn't even like have all this what if, but I can't see, how am I going to go about it? He had none of those concerns, right? The kind of concern that us, people who can see will probably have, right? He just showed up and said, okay, right, let's figure this out. and we figured it out. And it
Amazing.
wasn't too hard, right? When someone really wants to
Yeah.
achieve something, like Emily, you will find ways. You'll find ways to, like, make it happen. And you know that this is my journey, and I'm not gonna, like, compare myself to people who have different abilities and go, oh, I
Yeah.
wish I had more legs or more eyes or something like that, right? You completely,
Exactly.
yeah, right, you completely, like, this is my game. I'm just gonna, like, play it, to the max, play it full out for my own game. And yeah, so this is
This is super important because this can apply to every area of your life, not just yoga, not just swimming, just everything, looks, what you're doing, your career, because these are people that we're mentioning here who are examples of people who are swimming their own race, owning themselves, and because of that, being super inspiring and magnetic and attractive for other people who are like, wow, okay, and all they're doing is completely just centered in themselves. What can I get my body to do that it couldn't do yesterday? What can I do in my life that I couldn't do yesterday? How can I improve? And not looking at other people to do it, because I'm sure if they did, right? Because these are let's say people who really, if they even just looked at the average person and what they could do and compared themselves and their bodies to it, they would really come out lacking. But they're not doing that, or they probably are, but they're getting past that and they're just focusing on themselves each time. No, what can I do? And because of that, just making huge improvements in their lives and just glowing and shining because of it.
right. This is beautiful. This is so beautiful. And I actually just remember a friend of mine mentioned this to me. We're actually talking about mental health over the weekend. And he said, he read some studies saying that, this is for girls, actually, for women, okay, that the recent study shows in the past couple of years, I think 2018 to this year, it has shown that women have been the least happiest, have been most unhappy during this, couple of years. And a lot of it has to do with social media, with the accessibility of internet and social media, the stuff that we see, the stuff that's presented on social media, and also the whole culture, the social interaction of social media has actually made a huge mental, like, impact on young women, especially. I mean, this is like women across different age groups, right? But especially for the younger, we're talking about teenagers to, like, the millennials, right? The young millennials, and we're classified as millennials too. I'm an old millennial, but the young millennials and the teenagers, the mental impact has been huge from the social media too. And of course, like, when you see that study, this triggers a lot of, like, people's extreme reactions, right? Like, you probably also hear this all the time from a lot of, like, say, the older generations who are a bit more anti, internet, anti social media. A lot of people will be like, oh, it's bad for us. We should, like, totally shut it down, all these things. But my question is, it's actually not about shutting down all the technologies. We talked about this, like, last week or the week before, right? We need technology, but it is about how we use it, right? How we recognize what is it doing to us mentally, especially socially and mentally, and how do we go about it? How do we actually use it to benefit us rather than being controlled and manipulated, or not having any control over how our mental well-being is developing, and just let it go with the flow. Right, I'll tell you, it will not flow anywhere.
Exactly. I think this is super important. I mean, like what so as Jean was saying, there, well, what should we do? Should we break down social media? But I think just as high as the increase in maybe suicides due to social media. I worked as a teacher in a secondary school, and boy, I'm glad that I did not. Secondary school, high school, if you're in the States, was tough enough. Can you just imagine what it is like right now? Because those girls are really, really struggling with this comparison thing, with this social media, online bullying and things, with the constant feeling of not enough. Like I remember, like I would literally have to cancel teenage girls, like almost on a daily basis, who were just like suicidal and self-harming about it. So there's that side of it. But on the flip side, if you think about the global consciousness level, it's also increasing. And if we think about why, well, if we take away all technology and go back to the dark ages before, they could even send any kind of contact without a letter, right? And so that people were in their bubbles, and sure, there was probably a bit of comparison, but not to the extent that we have that. It literally every single time I pick up my phone, I can be triggered. Some feeling of inadequacy can be triggered by me by looking at my phone and going on social media. Literally, if I chose to stay on it all day, I could be triggered all day. Now that's actually, as terrible as that sounds, that's a chance for us to question, why is this bothering me? What is the underlying belief here that I'm that I'm not enoughness, my own inadequacy? Why am I doing this? So it's also making us more aware. And the second part of it is this idea, really, that what we're seeing on social media is in this, right? This is in a way, it's not really reality, because everything that you see that comes through here is filtered, as Jing was saying, by algorithms and photo filters these days. And as we were just saying, presenting your life in a certain way, it's, no matter how we put it, it's inauthentic. It's not who you are. It's not who the person that you're comparing yourself with is really in reality. And maybe a way to get you to question that is that, let's say that you were just, doing your thing and posting on social media, and then all of a sudden, someone from around the world came up to you in your physical reality and said, I want to kill myself right now because I've been looking at your feed and you look like you have the perfect life and you're so amazing, and I just feel completely inadequate. I want to give up because I'm never going to be as good as you. I'm just going to kill myself. How would you feel in that moment? Because I think personally, I'd be like, hang on, I'm so sorry. My life really isn't as good as I was making out. That's not my reality. That's not the truth. It's just the way that it's presented. Please don't take your life based on what I've been portraying on social media. I think that really comes down to you question whether or not you're truly authentic in your own social media. And then, so if you're not, everyone else isn't either. So what you're comparing yourself to isn't actually even real. Okay, what you see on someone's social media account isn't who they truly are, like, at all. I don't know maybe what percentage, but a very low percent of who they actually are fundamentally in essence. So you're comparing yourself to an illusion.
Totally. Yeah. That I love that. We're a lot of times we're comparing ourselves to just an illusion, something that's purely made up, fabricated for the sake of just for someone to look good.
Yeah.
And this is actually very obvious in the world of health and fitness, right? It has become such a, like I said, I mentioned this many times, when it comes to body confidence, it has become such a, body image, six pack, ripped body oriented, like social standard, right? The social standard for like being fit and being healthy is that, do you have ab lines? Do you have abs? Do you have, the muscle toning? And also for some reason, the recent trend for an ideal female body is the nice booty, Kim Kardashian's booty, but tiny waist and have abs. And what else? You still have boobs and all that, right? When I look at them, like, I'm sure there's like a small percentage of people who are born to look like that, right? Like tiny percentage out of the entire human population. That plus, unless you go for plastic surgery to fabricate that body, it is impossible, right? To put that kind of like standard on everyone and, like subtly asking everybody to, hey, look like that, right? We're all born to have different structures, different body shapes and metabolisms and that. But for some reason, it's being that kind of the diet culture, the health and fitness culture has been promoting that kind of body to everybody. Okay, I'm just talking about women here, right? Men, you know what kind of body Thor, Avengers, right? Captain America, that kind of body.
I can't speak for the women, but I have a little bit of insight because my most recent ex was actually a fashion model. And,
oh wow, nice.
Yeah, and the pictures. So the pictures that I obviously saw, I met this guy online, and like the pictures on his profile are like, this guy is a god. Okay, and he was
right, like perfect body,
perfect. Okay, and like, okay, I'm not in real life, not necessarily the reality. Okay, like he was still a very handsome guy, but no way near this like perfection, flawless, just physique. Like the angles were perfect. His face was always at the right angle, the lighting and everything like that. So he really didn't look a lot like, you know, that he was online. So that's not even the reality too. So firstly, what you're seeing, exactly what we're talking about, what you're comparing yourself with, taking from my experience, even the really, really like, oh my God,
Mm-hmm.
is angled and lighting and
Yeah.
not, and this person too,
Airbrushed. Yeah.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
still had a lot of insecurities, still compared himself to a lot of people.
Oh yeah.
Still, you
Oh
know,
yeah.
no matter how many people every single day on his Instagram account tell him how gorgeous he is, how amazing he is, he's still comparing himself to other people too. So even if you were to be somehow in his body, you'd still be doing the same thing. So give up and just focus on yourself. The other thing that I was thinking about when we're talking about this comparing the body types is that yes, sure, we've got that like standard norm for what is like looking amazing body wise, and then you've also got those people who just maybe aren't that traditional Western view of perfect body, perfect looks, but there's something about them that they just bring and own themselves and own their body and just stand and be like, here I am, and they look really attractive because of it. Because if you were to zoom in and start focusing on, well, that, yeah, sure, it's not traditional, but there's something really magnetic and attractive with them. So the same thing, if you were just to own your own body, own your own physique, and accept it, and be like, here I am, and I think I look amazing, I don't care what anyone else thinks, you naturally look much more attractive because of that. So that's
right.
part of it too.
100%. I 100% agree with that. It's the fearlessness. I call it fearlessness, that I don't give a F.
Exactly.
Right. I don't give a F
Wow.
kind of attitude. Yeah. Yes. But of course, you know, we gotta, you know, we're self-aware of, you know, like, you know, how healthy we are too, right? I always have to make that disclaimer, you know, when it comes to like body positivity, body confidence and that. But, you know, we're talking about that fearless attitude that, you know, like it's not my job to make you like me, right? But it's my job to like myself. And, you know, I'm swimming in my own lane, right?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna check you out. And it's really funny when you're talking about that. I just remember the days when I was doing dragon boating, and I remember for some of the races, I was the drummer. So the drummer has a very important role of checking out your left and right and see where the other boats are. And then also you speed up and also change your drumming, your speed, because you got to call out, you know, for your team, like when to like speed up. And it's very similar to, you know, what you're saying, rowing. Yeah. So dragon boat's paddling. Yeah.
I've never heard of it. I need to Google this now.
Oh, you should Google it. I'm sure in UK, there's a big dragon boat sort of sports as
well.
So
it originated. Amazing.
Yeah, it's really fun. I love it. It's paddling. Basically, it's one side paddling. And the whole form of the sport comes from China. So it comes from the Chinese origin, but it has become a global sport now, like international festivals and competitions and that. So it's teams competing. And you take one side and you have a partner on the other side. So you paddle one side, right? Mm-hmm. And, you know, you have to, I'm sure those of you who have done some kind of paddling before, you know that, you know, you gotta, you know, set a good sort of like starting, you know, get your engine going first, right? And in the middle, you just, you know, keep at a steady pace. And then towards the end, I had a job to like check left and right. I had a GoPro on too. I remember it was really fun. And then see where we are. We're like, okay, right. It's towards the end. We're almost there, a couple meters, not couple meters, 100 meters away from the finish line. Then it's time to really power up, right? And then really have to see left and right, power up. So yeah, so it reminded me of that. Like, yeah, you do have to like strategically check where is your competition at like what point, but also you know, taking it into the life situation is that, you know, it's about competing with yourself, but you know, you can see what everyone else is doing
and see what your team's capable of, because how many people are in the boat? Right.
About 18 to 20.
18 people in the boat. I need to Google this now.
Yes, yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's long. The boat is really long, and you have 2 people each row, right? So yeah, I remember about 18 to 20. Right. So you have a few that are like reserves, and then the 2 people at the front are very important because they basically set the synchronicity, and the people behind across will be looking at the person, not directly in front of you, but diagonally across. So you'll be mirroring that person's move and the speed. Yeah.
It's interesting because every single person in that boat like has their own role to play and their own part to play, and every single person in that boat has to just focus on their paddle, right? And like it, like you also as the back person, this what I don't know what your role is called, like you have your own part to play. And it's like if all of you can just focus on your own job, your own role in that boat, then it all comes together beautifully. But if
Definitely.
if you're saying, hang on, you're not playing your role. What's your role? The spotting person. What do you call yourself in the back?
You
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a name, I
The,
forgot,
the,
but
the spotter, maybe or the steerer or something like that. So if you were no longer focused on your role and you were focused on what, like maybe I should be paddling this and not focused completely, not centered completely, then they're not going to get instructions that they need. And then it's all
right.
going to fall apart from there.
Right. Oh, it's very obvious when the boat is like just all over the place, because if you look at it from a distance, right, it looks like a caterpillar, right? Like a caterpillar with a lot, is it caterpillar? No, centipede, sorry, centipede.
Yeah.
Centipede with a lot of legs, but the legs are kind of like all over the place, not like in sync. When a boat is like very good and, mechanical in sync, then it doesn't look like a centipede. It looks like just very, uniform. And then if you're a paddler, you actually don't have any opportunity to look left and right because it is that intense, and you just have to focus on what you're doing, your movements, and also the person diagonally across from you, in front of you. Just that person and you. Yeah, that's it. And this is how everyone becomes in sync together. So we don't have time to look left and right. Yeah.
This actually has a really powerful message behind it, because I think a lot of what we're doing is comparing ourselves to other people in the community, other people in our country, other people in the world. And if we all did this, right, and focus on our role that we play in the boat, then it would all just be complete harmony, complete synchronicity, right? Not Jane looking and saying, well, maybe I should be paddling instead, or what's that paddler doing, or what's that, and not focusing on her role to play 100% and giving everything to her role, then it wouldn't work. And just as she was saying, the other people can't even look left and right. So when it all comes together like that in synchronicity, when each person in the community is focused on their race, their role, their place in the boat, then we're all winners, right? We're all winning together. It's not actually about being best at anything. And this is coming from an athlete. It's not about that. Because if you think about the greater purpose that we have here as the world, it's a collective, especially as in a community like this, as conscious souls, right? We have a duty to be, just as that boat is, synchronized, focused on everything that we're doing, growing together as a group of people and impacting the world because of it.
I love that. I totally love that. And that basically sums up perfectly of our topic for today.
Yes.
And I hope everybody enjoys today's discussion with Amy and I. And I saw Emily's reply because I wrote happy birthday to Emily here, and then she tuned in. Yes.
Happy birthday, Emily.
Yeah.
We've been talking
We love you, Emily. I know. Yeah. Enjoy your birthday. And for everybody that's watching right now, thank you so much for tuning in every Wednesday. And if you're watching the replay, let us know, you're watching a replay, and if you got anything out of today's episode, do let us know what you learned. And if you are also struggling with this whole social comparison thing, don't be afraid to let us know. That is actually the best way, by being honest with your weaknesses and with what your struggles are. This is the first step for you to start healing, start getting out of that. So don't hide it, and don't feel like, embarrassed or anything. Like you can see from, all these weeks of talks, Amy and I, we share a lot of our struggles and our vulnerable sides to you guys. So, this is the best way. Just let it be out there, let it be transparent.
No shame, because then it's all out in the open, and then we can just move forward together. So remember, swim your own race and take your spot in the boat. I think that's like
yes, swimming your own race. Yeah. I know. We should put that quote in the caption.
Yes, I'm gonna never came up with that. It's definitely all the way through my life. Anyway, so find your own quote or that one, and make sure you write it in the comments. What's going to be your quote that you use to remind yourself to stay centered and focus on yourself. And thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you, Jing, as usual. And we'll see you next Wednesday. Okay, lots of love to everyone.
Thank you, everybody.